Next one. Hey guys, hope everyone is having a great lockdown summer. Here's my question. When building out a 50+ page local lead gen rank and rent site where I intend to rent the pages as landing pages, will there be a Google penalty since each page will only be variations of the same landing page with the main differences being the location keywords? Okay, I'll answer that first, and then I'll finish reading your comment or questions. The short answer is no. A lot of people do that and they still get away with it. I have never, I swear to God, never since I started building lead gen assets have I ever just taken the same content, swapped out the location names and used it over and over and over again. And the reason why is because even though I know it still works, and I've been doing lead gen stuff since 2010 really, but I've always used unique content. So, and when I say unique content, for example, I'll get, like let's keep it on a smaller scale, but let's say I wanted to do 10 pages, right? So 10 local pages for a lead gen project. So I would use, it would be the same, services that I would be promoting, but just in 10 different locations. What I'll do is I would go get, maybe 2 articles written for, optimize, and I would instruct the writer to write the articles based upon, the keywords that I told them. So there might be, section headers and all that to add additional relevancy, all that, whatever. Let's say I get a 1,500 word article written. So I get 2 of those written. It's going to be a little bit expensive, but then you can have each one of those articles rewritten, which is a lot cheaper, so that it comes out unique. So again, you have, like 1,500 word article might pay, I don't know, $150 for it, whatever it is. And then you have it rewritten, but it's a hell of a lot cheaper to have those rewritten than it is to have a new article created, if that makes sense. So that's what I would do is I would go in and, buy, if I had a bigger project, maybe 50 pages, I might get 10 articles written. I know, I might get 10 articles written and then have those rewritten 5 times each one of those. And so I'd have 50 pages of unique, and I wouldn't do that all at once. I'd be building them out in stages anyways. I might select 5 locations at a time to build out. So that way I can spread my cost out over time and hopefully start generating some revenue from the earlier the earlier pages that were published while I'm working on, so that I can use that to fund writers for later pages, if that makes sense. It doesn't mean that I go out and buy 50 unique articles is what I'm saying. I buy maybe 5 or 10 unique articles and then have them rewritten a number of times so that they come out to be unique. Now, I know that's been overkill for all these years, but my thoughts have always been that at some point, if all you do is use the same damn content for every page and you're just swapping out location tokens, right, location modifiers, then it's easy for Google to de-index that shit or to penalize it, because it's basically exact copies of everything with just the location names changed. And again, I know other people might want to debate me on it. That's fine. I'm just telling you what my own personal process has been since I started doing SEO and lead gen sites, and that's to always try to use unique content. Okay. Comments on that, guys? Okay. I thought it would.
I think it's easy to pick out on a manual. Not so easy for the bot if you mix it around, if you mix your paragraphs around, which is what we do with the mass page builder site, the Land Solutions Network. You tokenize it, but you can spin the paragraphs a little bit to make it a little more unique. When you're talking about what, 15,000, 16,000 pages, you're not going to do 1,000 or 1,500 word articles for that amount of pages, right? So when you're at the state and city level, we again, it's risk versus reward. It's a case study. It's a test. It's a test to see how much we can get away with, how much Google will accept, whether mass page creators are still work. And we're showing that, yeah, they do. If you take the time out to learn the builder, and then I don't know if it's even uniquify each page to the point where the bot won't raise any red flags. That's the most important thing, is that the bot doesn't raise any red flags. And when it does, if you raise enough, you'll eventually get you're now in line for a manual. And when that manual comes around, it's bye-bye.
Yeah, to be clear, if you're using a mass page generator, now that's different. Now, what I mean by that is I would, for that, because I have done a lot of that, and I've actually got some testing going on right now, or coming up, I should say, where I'm going to be using mass page plugin for testing some of this stuff too. Anyway, long story short, I do use spun content for that, right? So like what Marco said, that's different, something like that, because every time the mass page builder or the plugin, whatever system it is that you're using, creates a page, it's going to spit out a different version of that content because of the spin text. And I've done hybrid models before where there might be a block of text in the middle of the page that is essentially untouched, but there's a spun opener and a spun, conclusion, if that makes sense. Like, so in other words, an opening paragraph or a couple of paragraphs that are spun, and maybe the paragraphs are also put in spun text, so that the paragraphs, it chooses different paragraphs at different times, and then those paragraphs are spun, if that makes sense. So there's a number of things when you're talking about mass page building that is different, but than what my understanding of the question was. If you're building this stuff out basically manually, then that's why I always use, which is most of my lead, or not really all of them right now, are all manually built out sites. And so for that, I like to use the content strategy that I just mentioned, which is to buy articles, have them written originally, and then have those rewritten multiple times so that they come out really unique. But again, mass page stuff, different. That's different because you're going to use something that's going to create a bunch of pages very quickly. So spin text is absolutely fine in that. Just again, my advice on that is to make sure that you have some decent content and put it through a spinner and output versions of it and go through it and try to make sure that it's clean, so that you don't have some real shitty content or real shitty text that doesn't read well, which most spinners will do unless you take the time, which I know it's tedious. That's why I don't like to do that kind of work very often. But to make sure that, the spinning is done correctly, because remember, the Google's algorithm now, natural language processing and all that, is so much better. It can detect that shitty kind of content really, really easily. So much better than it could even for, a few years ago. All right. He says, I thought it would be best to set it up using pages, as Bradley mentioned in a previous Hump Day Hangouts, rather than subdomains. It's so much less complicated that way. Yes, it is. I know you don't recommend using super-spun articles on the money site. Yeah, again, it depends. Like I said, if you're doing like mass page stuff, then that's different. And if an article is spun well, you can just output different, spit out a different version of it and use that on a money site if it's done really, really well. The problem is it's hard to get any type of spun article that's done that well. Does that make sense? Unless you spend a lot of time cleaning it up yourself. Although, again, I haven't bought anything like that in a long time. You might be able to go to Upwork and find somebody that's really good at spinning. It's probably going to be expensive, but if you only have one article done that you're going to use for 50 pages, then is it worth it? That, in my opinion, it would be, right? And not have to spend all your time manually editing the spin tags to make it, high quality. If that makes sense. He says, so if I'm using a 1,500 to 2,000 word article on the first location landing page, do I just have it rewritten each time for each new location as I build out the site? Then I will also be following the battle plan. Yes, that's exactly what I just mentioned at the beginning. That's how I've always done it. And I just do it in stages so that I'm not paying for 50 rewrites all at once, if that makes sense. I'd rather just do, if I'm going to build out 5 pages at a time, then I'm only paying for those. And then hopefully I'll start generating some revenue from pages that are already built as I'm continuing to build out the additional pages. Okay. So that's my process, guys. Again, I know there's there's 1,000 ways to skin a cat. so I'm sure there's some other differing opinions.